Well, we know everybody is excited about this Trump administration getting underway. It's been a historic, not even 48 hours with executive orders and a lot going on. But people are also interested and focused on what is going to come. And I know this next guest can give us some of that insight. He's, of course, the former governor of Kansas. He is Jeff Colyer joining us on KCMO. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, it's great to be with you, Pete.
Well, let me just start off with this. And we've talked about this on the show, but I know you can give some more layers to it. The fact that Donald Trump has these non-consecutive terms, which has never happened in our lifetime, can be very unique for how he goes about his business and how quickly he starts getting things done. What are you noticing, and what do you think we'll see more of on that front?
You know, when you go from your first term, you're at your absolute peak of power, as you're coming in. Well, he gets to do that twice. And so if he had followed himself, we'd have seen that same old war going on. But he's been out, and the band has been out practicing,
Yes.
in private sector and doing other things. And now when you get the band back together and, here's who our best players are, we need to bring in, new ones, you can really have fresh ideas. You really know, you don't have to learn where the bathroom is the very first day. And that is just such a huge head start for Trump. I mean, we've never seen more executive orders issued in a single day. The first one eliminated 78 of Biden's executive orders. And so having this flurry of things, there is a plan. It's just not a dream. And it is really, I think, very well thought out.
And you think about that political capital, it's never stronger than when you get into office. But a lot of folks, the first time they're in, like you said, they're trying to figure out where the bathroom is. He knows where the bathroom is and where the bodies are buried. So you are just moving at warp speed right now.
Absolutely. He's moving at warp speed. And actually, I think that actually enhances his power over the long run. As long as they can keep showing progress, we're doing this, we're doing that, here's the next thing, people really support it. Everyone knows that government, whether it's on any level, is too big and unresponsive there, and they want to see change. They want to see it work, and they want to see it smaller and get the heck out of their lives, but do the things it's supposed to do. And I think this is a unique opportunity, for this president.
Former Kansas Governor Jeff Colyer is here. So I know that when it comes to DOGE, which is the Department of Government Efficiency, which has been started by President Trump, Elon Musk is going to help oversee that. A lot of people are excited by it, but they don't know what it means and what it actually can do. What do you see happening on that front?
Sure. So we actually read the executive order, which came out yesterday, and it's kind of surprising. What people were thinking is that there was going to be a National Advisory Council. I actually ran one for President Trump on rural health care, and you have to go through all of these different steps of notifying people of meetings, and you prepare some data, and then meet about it, discuss it, make recommendations on that. That was what people were kind of thinking. But no, this is much more efficient, because what DOGE does actually in the executive order is it sets up how do we change the computer systems, the software and the technology in government so that you can actually track it and do what needs to be done. And believe me, technology in government is bad. When I was lieutenant governor, there were still computers in the state government that had floppy disks.
Are you kidding me?
That flopped.
I mean, just so people know, this was like a few years ago, not like 25 years ago.
Yeah. These, so.
Oh my gosh, floppy disks.
But the technology in government,
yeah.
It's built by contractors, and none of it, is plug and play. And, it doesn't work very well. And that's why we all get frustrated, when you're trying to, talk to somebody in government. And you need to fix that, because then you can start fixing the budget. You can start fixing operations. You can do a lot of things.
So really what this does, because this is where I always got confused, or I guess questioned it, Congress, of course, has control of the purse strings. So hopefully what DOGE does is it finds the efficiencies through this improved technology, and then will allow Congress to say, cut this, cut that, and let's shrink the size of government?
So it does part of that, but it also will make government more efficient. I see it more as efficient, in responding to people's needs. The other part of this is what's called the Office of Management and Budget. That's where the budget is developed, and it's actually a whole apparatus that is in the White House. Russ Vought, who loves Kansas, by the way. Russ Vought is the OMB director. He was Trump's original OMB director, and they're bringing the band back together for this. And so what OMB does is they're preparing the budget, and they're collecting tons of data right now. And so when the president presents his budget, you're going to get to see the first tranche of all of these efficiencies coming forward. So a lot of those are recommendations coming from the legislatures, from governors, from individuals out there, from Elon Musk even. There's lots of people weighing in on those. But the president and the OMB have to put that all together into a workable budget. And that's where you're going to see, a big chunk of cuts coming across. And then you layer on the software on that, you can keep doing this in the future.
That's huge. Now, if there's one critique that at least I would have of Trump's first term, it would be the spending. So do you think that Russ and this crew will understand that there probably was overspending during that first term without COVID even, and they're going to rein a lot of that back in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, they understand that, Biden pushed us over the edge.
Yeah.
And, we are now, teetering, looking at the bond markets and all of that. Interest rates came down, but guess what? Your mortgage rate went up 1% this year or this past month. Mm-hmm. And that's because of what's going on in the bond market and how much borrowing the federal government has to do and others have to do with that. And everybody realizes we've got to fix that.
Yeah. What do you think about the outsiders? I mean, you're an outsider in the sense that, your career has obviously been as a doctor. It has not been in government, but obviously now you spend time in government. How influential do you want the Elon Musks of the world to be? Because there's two schools of thought. It's great to have brilliant minds like this, but also they're not elected people. So how do you want to see this relationship build?
Yeah, I think there are lots of different layers around the president. There's the president and his individual team that he wants to build a team around him. They may not always agree, and in this administration that's true, but that's how Trump thrives on that. But Trump controls them, and Trump is responsible for that. Joe Biden didn't control those people around him. Then when you have cabinet secretaries out there, people like Doug Burgum and others, who can really go and efficiently start taking things apart, unleashing American energy, for example. Having those experienced people, those are important, as well. And so, yeah, there are people that are very visible, but you need that. Mm-hmm. You need that. And I think the president, we all know Donald Trump is in charge.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay? The last 4 years, we have no idea who was.
Well, you say Trump is in charge of them. I would say for the last 40 years, these other people were in charge of Biden. No one really knew who was running the show.
That's right.
That's a big difference.
And it's so sad.
Yeah, it is. It is. Former Kansas Governor Jeff Colyer is with us on KCMO. So over the next couple of minutes, I know we'll be talking about DOGE in the months ahead as they continue to roll this thing out. What should people be watching for, as they think about DOGE in the weeks to come? Like, how quickly will some of these things unfold as you understand it?
Well, I think that a place where you're going to see a lot happening, you saw all of these executive orders. There's going to be another round of executive orders, maybe 2 rounds more of executive orders that you'll see over the next 90 days or so. And then the next big thing is going to be when the president submits his budget. Mm-hmm. And that's where we can start seeing the first steps of these efficiency, proposals. How can we make Medicaid much more efficient? There's a whole lot of things. We privatized Medicaid in the state of Kansas, and we were the first state to completely privatize our entire Medicaid program. That savings alone is $1 billion a year right now on that. And so there's things that a lot of them will start small, but you also got to learn, you got to do some big chops at the very beginning and then, go from there.
I want you to put your doctor's hat on for a quick second, too. I know there was an executive order Trump had about taking away Joe Biden's forcing of insulin prices or whatever to be under $35. The left killed him for that. When you put on your doctor's hat, what is that really about?
What that's really about is, getting rid of, discovery of drugs. When you start impacting, here's the price of drugs. When you eliminate the free market, for that, well, guess what? They're not going to develop more drugs on that. Insulin is a key drug for all sorts of people, and that's what they were talking about. But the next tranche of them was looking at drugs. They just released the list. It wasn't due, but they released it earlier. It was things like Wegovy and some of the Ozempic and some of these others, which investigation by companies, doctors, individuals shown, wow, we can actually transform lives with it. It's a very expensive process. And so if you shut down, what people can charge on this, then you have problems. Then you cut down research. The other side of that, though, is many of my patients, are in, the poorest inner city parts of Kansas City on that. And so how do we help them get access to that? That's the question you should be answering rather than, here, let's just limit prices. When you do, if people don't remember this, but in 1972, Richard Nixon had price controls on everything. During World War II, there were price controls on everything from, cigarettes, gasoline, and all of that. That's what the Soviet Union was. Okay, and you're just starting up little pieces of the Soviet Union when you do price controls in this. So that's where we're at.
Well, that's going to be something to watch as well. Jeff Colyer on KCMO. Will you come back as Doge continues to unfold and tell us what's going on?
I listen to you every day. Of course I'll be back.
Oh, well, that's great. I love it. Jeff Colyer on KCMO, former Kansas governor, of course, doing great work, and we appreciate him being here. Thanks so much.
It's great to see you, Pete.